The Denver Broncos are making a bold move this offseason, and it's a change that could propel their defense to the top of the NFL next year. Trust me, I've got the facts to back it up. In today's breakdown, we'll dive into who Sean Payton might target in the first round of the draft based on his recent press conference. Plus, we've got some exciting Rob Gronkowski news to cover as well. If you're new here, I'm a die-hard Denver Broncos fan, and if you love the Broncos, showing some support by liking and subscribing helps me a lot with the YouTube algorithm. Let's talk about the vibe after Sean Payton's press conference at the NFL Combine. The energy this year is completely different. Compared to last year, you can feel the optimism and hope in the air. Maybe it's the end of winter, but I'm honestly fired up about this team. The NFL Combine always feels like a fresh start, like football's almost back, and it's got me excited for what's to come. Now, Sean Payton dropped a huge bombshell at the press conference, a change that could completely reshape this defense and put it in a position to be the best in the league. Looking back at last season, the Broncos' defense was already elite, boasting the most sacks in the NFL and a Defensive Player of the Year in Pat Surtain, who's a shutdown corner. So when Payton says that with a few adjustments, this defense could become the best in the league, it's not some wild, unrealistic claim. Right now, the two key areas holding the defense back are inside linebacker and safety. Yesterday, we talked about the three top-tier free agent safeties, and two of them are already rumored to be heading to Denver. Plus, with the cap space available, it's very much a possibility. But here's the real twist. What if the answer to our inside linebacker position is already on the roster? Sean Payton just revealed a major move. The team is shifting Drew Sanders, the athletic powerhouse from Arkansas, back to inside linebacker. If you're not familiar with Sanders, he's an absolute freak of nature, known for his speed, strength, and overall athleticism. This time last year, Sanders was recovering from an Achilles injury, but now he's healthy and ready to make an impact. And experts are already buzzing about how this move compares to the success of past players like Zach Bond, with Sanders' skill set matching up perfectly in terms of his physicality and athleticism. This could be the move that takes the Broncos' defense from good to elite, setting them up for a massive season ahead. Stay tuned, because there's a lot more coming your way. Sean Payton has a proven track record when it comes to finding hidden gems, and he's done it again with Drew Sanders. Remember, it was Payton who discovered Zach Bond and drafted him to New Orleans, a move that almost landed Bond the Defensive Player of the Year honors. So when Payton believes that Sanders has the potential to thrive at inside linebacker, it's definitely worth paying attention to. If he thought that highly of Bond, I trust his judgment. Now, imagine this. Last season, the Broncos were relying on a combination of Justin Sternad, Cody Barton, and Quan Alexander at inside linebacker. If we can swap that out for a healthy Alex Singleton and Drew Sanders, it's a total game changer. You're upgrading a position that was somewhat of a weakness into one that's at least slightly above average, if not better. The potential for that is incredibly exciting. Of course, some fans have voiced concerns about Sanders' transition, and I couldn't help but laugh at one tweet comparing it to Michael Scott's vasectomy storyline from The Office. The tweet humorously implied that moving Sanders between positions, like from inside linebacker to edge rusher and back, might have been painful for the player, just like the back and forth on the show. But here's the thing, if Sanders is going to stay in one spot and fully focus on inside linebacker, this could work out beautifully. With a full offseason under Vance Joseph's guidance, Sanders will have the chance to lock in and grow into the role. And let's not forget about the leadership around him. Sanders will be lining up next to Alex Singleton, who knows this defense like the back of his hand. Singleton didn't take the easy route during his injury recovery. He stuck with the team all season, attending playoff games and cheering his teammates on when most injured players would have stayed home. That's the kind of teammate Sanders will have, and that's invaluable. Together, this could form a dynamic duo that could dominate. But here's the best part. George Payton recently mentioned that the Broncos aren't going to settle for just naming starters. There's still room for competition in the linebacker room. So there's a chance they could bring in a veteran like Shaq Thompson to add depth and push everyone to be their best. Competition always raises the bar, and this defense is going to be something special next season. Suddenly, I'm incredibly excited about this Denver Broncos defense, which was already impressive last year. Now, with the moves they're making, it looks like they're ready to take a giant leap forward. One of the biggest reasons for that excitement? Drew Sanders stepping into the inside linebacker position. Last season, even after trading away Baron Browning, the Broncos struggled to get a solid edge rusher rotation going. They had to divide snaps between Cooper, Bonito, and Jonah Ellis. But with Sanders potentially locking in at linebacker and players like Tillman showing progress, it feels like the Broncos are setting up for a more effective pass rush rotation moving forward. If Sanders can give even a fraction of the impact that Zach Bond had, this defense could be seriously dangerous. But that's just the beginning of the changes we're seeing. At the NFL Combine, Sean Payton spoke about his draft strategy, and a few things stood out. He mentioned that the team is trying to fall in love with 4 players to ensure they have options in case one of their top choices is taken off the board. Many fans have been speculating that one of those 4 players might be Ashton Jeanty, the highly touted, once-in-a-generation running back out of Boise State. However, based on Payton's comments, it seems like they might not be targeting a running back at the 20th overall pick after all. During the press conference, both Sean Payton and George Paton emphasized the depth of this running back class and even hinted that the team might already have their starting running back in the building. They praised players like Audric, Jalil, and Tyler Batty, which makes me wonder if the Broncos are ready to roll with what they have in the backfield. Still, don't count out the possibility of drafting a running back entirely. Over the course of Combine Week, we've seen the Broncos meeting with Jeanty, and they're one of 8 teams showing interest. But I believe their top priority with the first pick could shift to a tight end, a player who excels at catching passes and creating yards after the catch. In this day and age, finding a tight end who can dominate as a receiver is more valuable than ever, and I think that's where the Broncos are focused. So, while we're all hoping to see a running back, the tight end position could be where the Broncos strike big in the draft. When it comes to drafting a tight end, the Broncos have made it clear. They're looking for a player who can catch passes and make plays, with blocking coming second. Both Sean Payton and George Paton emphasized that the primary skill they're after is a tight end's ability to be a receiving threat, and then they can work on developing the blocking aspect. This approach makes me think that the Broncos might have their eyes on players like Tyler Warren or Colson Loveland as their top tight end targets. While many are projecting Warren to go earlier than expected, Loveland, who is considered the second best tight end in the draft, could actually fall into the Broncos' lap. Imagine if the Broncos don't even have to trade up to get their guy, similar to the situation with Bo Nix, where they ended up with the player they wanted all along without needing to move up in the draft. The Broncos have a unique opportunity here, as Payton values a tight end who can create mismatches in the passing game first and foremost. So, a player like Loveland, who is essentially a wide receiver in a tight end's body, could be a perfect fit. The idea of bringing Colson Loveland to Colorado is exciting, especially since we already have a Loveland in the state. My favorite ski town, Loveland, is just outside of Denver. If he becomes a Bronco, it'll be a nice little connection, having Loveland in the state of Colorado in more ways than one. Looking at the draft, this is a unique year in college football history where tight ends have made a huge impact in their team's passing games. For instance, Tyler Warren accounted for 33% of his college's passing offense, while Loveland wasn't far behind, contributing nearly 35%. Then there's Harold Fannin, who's projected to be a third-round pick, and he accounted for over half of his team's offensive yards. That's incredible. It's a reminder of just how much talent there is in this tight end class, and the Broncos have options. And don't forget about Brock Bowers, the player everyone's calling a once-in-a-generation tight end. While he's been a standout at Georgia, his contribution to their offense was about 25%. However, that's a bit misleading since Georgia had a stacked team with playmakers like Ladd McConkey. The point here is that the tight end class is deep and talented, and the Broncos are in an excellent position to grab a potential game changer, whether that's at tight end or another position. The excitement around this team is palpable, especially with the moves the Broncos are making in this draft. With the tight end position needing development, the Broncos are poised to make a big impact. But here's the real surprise. What if I told you that Rob Gronkowski, yes, that Gronk, is training at high altitude in Vail, Colorado, and has plans to return to the NFL? According to reports from trusted sources at the NFL Combine, Gronkowski has been keeping in touch with Sean Payton, with whom he shares a good relationship from their time together at Fox Sports. Gronk has also spoken highly of Bo Nix, the quarterback many think could lead this team to great things. The moment this news dropped, I was chatting with some content creators from rival teams, including the Raiders and the Chiefs. The Chiefs guy jokingly said that the Broncos were being unserious if they thought they could bring Gronk back. But here's the thing, Gronkowski is just 5 months older than Travis Kelce, and his body is in much better shape after sitting out these past seasons. Imagine having Gronkowski, a top-tier run blocker and mentor, on a veteran minimum contract, helping to train and guide Colson Loveland. I'd be all for it. The idea of Gronk returning and mentoring a young tight end like Loveland is a huge opportunity for the Broncos. Let me know what you think about that in the comments. Now, let's take a moment to appreciate how different this time feels compared to last year. Sean Payton summed it up perfectly when he said, "The reason this is different from last year is that we've got our franchise quarterback. With Russell Wilson firmly in place, the focus now shifts to surrounding him with the right pieces and taking this team to the next level. If we put Drew Sanders at middle linebacker and fill the safety position through free agency, then add the right weapons for Russell in the draft, look out, NFL. This team is gearing up for a massive leap, like Ethereum and Bitcoin going to the moon. The ceiling is high, and the Broncos are aiming for it." Lastly, hearing Sean Payton talk about the team's expectations for next season gave me chills. He said, "Our expectations are high. I'm encouraged by what we did last season, but we are hungry for more." This is a team with a chip on its shoulder, hungry to prove itself. The journey is just beginning, and I fully believe this young, hungry squad is about to take us on a deep playoff run. The upcoming draft is going to be wild, and Broncos country better be ready because we're in for an incredible ride. Buckle up, it's going to be a thrilling season ahead.